Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Council, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Council Reese, Councilor Thompson, comments or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Oh, we're doing East Grad. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're doing East Grad. Sorry, everyone, East Grad. Clerk's going to yell at me. Why is this not? Okay. I'm just approving the agenda, yes? That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Welcome to Aurora's public planning meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application. For the planning application that will be considered by council tonight, the following process will occur. 1, town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning application being considered. 2, then the applicant will be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. 3, following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the item virtually and in person. And 4, either town staff or the applicant will answer your questions, and I will keep track of the questions. And when I have several, I will direct them to whoever can best answer them. It is very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the public planning application. Therefore, if you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any further council or committee meetings concerning the application being considered, you must complete a planning interested party and speaker request form available on the town's website at aurora.ca/planning notices, or contact Planning and Development Services by email at planning@aurora.ca, or complete a green interested party form right there being held up and leave it with our committee coordinator sitting right at the front over there. Under the Planning Act, the applicant or residents have the right to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Land Tribunal. You must verbally express any comments or concerns here tonight, or submit any comments or concerns in writing to the town prior to council adopting an amendment. Tribunal may dismiss all or part of an appeal made in respect of an application. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Names, addresses, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask our town clerk to confirm that notification to the public occurred as required by the Planning Act. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Respecting item 5.1, report number PDS 23-063, application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment 2457920 Ontario Inc. 15 Glen Steeple Trail, lot 29 on plan 65-M-4614. File number OPS 2022-01 and ZBA 2022-01. On February 28th, 2022, a notice of complete application respecting the zoning bylaw amendment application was published in the Aurora and Aurora banner newspapers. On April 13th, 2023, a community information meeting was held at the Aurora Public Library. On April 19th, 2023, notice of public planning meeting was mailed out to all address property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands, and the circulation was expanded to include the existing properties on Ridge Road and Glen Steeple Trail, and was published in the Aurora and Aurora Banner newspapers. Signage on the subject lands was posted with information regarding the public meeting. Public notification has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now ask our Director of Planning and Development Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Romero.
Thank you. Our planner, Rosanna Punit, will provide a brief overview of the applications before council this evening. And I see the owners are here and their planning consultants. Lucille will also provide a presentation for the public and council. Rosanna?
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and members of the public. The subject lands 15 Glen Steeple Glen Steeple Trail is generally located on the west side of Yonge Street and north of Bloomington Road. More specifically, it is located on the southeast corner of Ridge Road and Glen Steeple Trail. The subject lands have an approximate lot area of 0.65 acres, converted to 0.626 hectares, and a lot frontage along Glen Steeple Trail of approximately 70 meters or 230 feet. The subject lands are currently vacant with no permanent structures. The site is currently being used as a by a contractor for York Region with regards to the feeder main rehabilitation occurring on Yonge Street and Ridge Road area. The site temporarily has a site trailer, material storage, and other construction equipment. To the north on Ridge Road are existing estate residences. To the south, single detached dwellings with lot frontages of 15 meters or equivalent to 50 feet in the final stages of construction at the moment. To the east is an existing York Region water tower and existing estate residential dwellings. To the west, estate residential dwellings and access to a trail system. Some history on these subject lands. In August 2014, an OPA number 6 was adopted by council, redesignating the subject lands and the remainder of Glen Steeple Trail, changing the land uses designations from cluster residential to environmental function area and from estate residential to cluster residential. At the same meeting, council enacted a zoning bylaw to replace Oak Ridges Moraine RUORM to residential zoning categories, open space zone, and Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental Protections Zone. The provisions of the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment facilitated the development of 29 single detached lots with site-specific policies. Subsequently, in September 2014, council approved the related draft plan of subdivision with a total of 29 units residential lots. In November 2014, council's decision to approve the draft plan of subdivision was appealed by a local resident. In April 2015, the Ontario Municipal Board approved the draft plan of subdivision and related conditions of approval for the proposed development for the proposal of developing a residential subdivision consisting of the 29 single detached units. The subject lands are designated within OPA 34, cluster residential. The designation allows for single detached dwellings. The overall gross density provisions of this section 3.2.3 of OPA 34 shall not be more than 5 units per hectare. Also, 2 units per acre. In addition, prior to approval of any application to permit new development within the cluster residential designation, a block plan must be approved by the town. The site-specific policy for the entire area, including 15 Glen Steeple Trail, the site-specific policy is for the entire area and includes 15 Glen Steeple Trail. The site-specific provision number 42 policy states the following. On an individual lot basis, the maximum permitted building coverage for the proposed 29 lots shall not exceed 35%. A minimum of 20-meter separation shall be maintained between primary residential buildings in the cluster residential designation and abutting lands designated estate residential. In addition, site grading for the development shall be undertaken in a manner that preserves the existing landforms and minimizes the impact on adjoining lands to the greatest extent possible. Where natural features such as trees are intended to be preserved on any lot abutting Ridge Road shall have a minimum lot frontage of 22 meters and a minimum lot area of 0.18 hectares. The site-specific zoning bylaw was enacted by council in August 2014, permitting one single detached dwelling and a home occupation on 15 Glen Steeple. The site-specific zoning designation also requires the following: minimum 3 parking spaces, 1 in the garage, and 2 parking spaces in tandem or side by side on the driveway. Also, a minimum 40% of the lot area shall be preserved in open, landscaped, or natural condition. The 40% shall not include swimming pool, accessory buildings / structures, paved driveway, patio, or any area covered with impervious material. To the south, for the remainder of the subdivision on Glen Steeple Trail, these lands are zoned R3, detached third density residential with site-specific zone standards, denoted by exception 435. This slide shows the conceptual site plan submitted by the applicant, showing all 4 lots. These are some conceptual designs of the proposed dwellings for the site. The purpose and intent of the official plan amendment before you tonight is to remove the maximum density to permit 3 additional residential lots at 5.5 units per hectare, remove the maximum building coverage, and remove the requirement of a block plan. The purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw amendment is to change the zone category from R2 detached second density residential to R3 detached third density residential to align with the existing recently built dwellings on Glen Steeple Trail. The new site-specific provisions include, but not limited to, decrease in front, rear, exterior, side, and interior side yard, lot coverage from 35% to 52.2%, removal of parking minimums, in addition, removal of the floor area provisions. The applications were circulated to internal and external agencies for review and comments. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed prior to a final recommendation report being brought forward to council's consideration, including but not limited to conformity to the provincial policy statement, growth plan, regional and provincial policies, appropriateness of the proposed density, and compatibility. A community information meeting was hosted by the applicant on April 13th, 2023. Some of the discussion topics included how long construction will take if approved. In response, approximately 3 to 4 years from the time of council's decision. Another item that was discussed was the existing noise and dust from the adjacent lands. As mentioned, the site is being used as a construction staging area for the York Region feeder main rehabilitation occurring on Yonge Street. Town staff have informed the contractor to keep the road clean throughout the day. In addition, staff have asked the contractors to put down more gravel and mud mats to help stop the mud and the dirt tracking. An additional item that was discussed was the overall density increase and the original approved subdivision by the former Ontario Municipal Board. And it was for a total of 29 lots total. The proposed additional lots will increase the density in the secondary plan and the OMB decision. In response, the proposed increase from 2 units per acre density, resulting in a 2.2 units per acre. The merits of the increase will be reviewed as part of the official plan amendment process. Another item discussed was the possibility of a sidewalk access on Glen Steeple Trail or Ridge Road area. There is currently a sidewalk on the east side of Glen Steeple Trail and will continue up until Ridge Road in front of the proposed lots. Also discussed was the current school bus stop drop-off located at Ridge Road and Glen Steeple Trail, and the possibility of expanding this area, also known as a daylight triangle. And lastly, increased traffic in the area on Ridge Road was discussed. The merits of the expansion of the daylight triangle and the traffic in the area will be considered by the applicant and town staff as part of the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment process. The next steps for the applications. In this case, the applications were circulated to internal and external agencies for review and comments. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed prior to a final recommendation report being brought forward to council's consideration, including but not limited to conformity with the provincial policy statement, growth plan, regional and provincial plans, appropriateness of the proposed entity, and compatibility. Also, the next steps include a more detailed review, revisions to be made as necessary with the applications. When appropriate, staff will come forward with a recommendation report and present it to the general committee for consideration. All interested parties will be notified of the updates of the subject applications should they be requested to do so. Thank you for your time. My contact information for further information on the files is on the screen.
Thank you, Rosanna. Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would ask that the planners or the applicant's consultant come up and provide their presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff and residents. My name is Lucila Sandoval with Groundswell Urban Planners, and I'm here tonight with Brad Rogers from my office as well. And we're here representing the owners of 15 Glen Steeple Trail. Next slide, please. So I won't take up too much time in terms of the policy context. I think Rosanna did a good job in reviewing that. So I'll just jump right into site context. As Rosanna indicated, the site is designated cluster residential and has a site-specific policy number 42. As you can see on the screen, the subject property is located west of Yonge Street and north of Bloomington Road. The site is a corner lot at the southeast corner of Ridge Road and Glen Steeple of approximately 0.65 acres. Next slide, please. This is a closer view of our site and kind of what we intend to do. This is the proposal showing kind of the 4 lots on this specific site. Next slide, please. This is the existing subdivision. And as you can see, it consists of 50 and 60-foot lots. And the lot that we're looking at is located in that gray box. I don't know if it's probably too small to see, but it says proposed 4 lots. So this slide shows the potential house footprints on the 4 lots. The lots will be accessed from Glen Steeple Trail and will be of a similar architectural style as the existing subdivision and follow the applicable architectural control and urban design guidelines that are in place. As part of our submission, we did submit a functional servicing report along with the appropriate erosion and sediment control plan and grading plan. Additionally, a natural heritage evaluation was subsequently submitted to the LSRCA, and we were told that they don't have any issues with it as of now, and there are ongoing discussions in terms of mitigation for the adjacent woodlawn. Our OPA seeks, as Rosanna indicated, seeks a density of 5.5 units per hectare, removal of the preparation of a block plan, and a site-specific zoning provisions to accommodate the dwellings. Next slide, please. These are just renderings of the existing subdivision. Next slide. more renderings and what the homes of the existing subdivision and what the homes will look like on these 4 lots. Next slide. So this is a plan we prepared as a result of the community information meeting we had in April. There was a discussion, there was a concern raised about the school bus stop at the corner of Glen Steeple and Ridge Road. This is conceptual. We're open to discussions with the municipality on providing a pedestrian pad for increased walkway for children that are needing to wait for the school bus, and also improved landscaping around this area so that it is a safer area for school bus pickup and drop off. Again, this is a conceptual drawing that we are obviously open to having further discussions with the town on. Slide. That concludes my presentation, and we're here tonight to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you. Open up the floor to the public. First, I have Shaheen. Shaheen, welcome. Let me just get you to state your name and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Shaheen Maladina, and I'm a resident at 154 Ridge Road. And I also have a small business at the location. Honorable mayors and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on tonight's zoning amendment application. First, I'd like to commend the great work done by our mayor and as an advocate of our town and standing behind the official plan. As for the Town of Aurora official plan, OPA 34, the subject lands are not developable as proposed. We need to support our environmental protection area zoning. Within the new Bill 23, we are already at risk. This development is in our control to deny. If it is approved, it sets a dangerous precedence. By allowing the applicant to put 4 homes on 1 lot, we allow the ORM to be torn apart. My question to the applicant, why was this not applied for in the original application? Because this is a major oversight. You are currently not building. Why is there construction equipment on the land? A bylaw officer confirmed the building permit has expired. Was a new environmental and traffic study done for this new application? What is the outcome of the new impact study? What studies have been done for this new application? Are you using the same studies from the previous application? There is a water tower in the backyard of these proposed homes. Chernobyl was deemed safe, but look what happened. Will you be telling the buyers of these homes there is a proposed men's shelter in the area? My question to the town, how will the residents of Aurora benefit from allowing this application? What green space will we gain? Is it monetary or actual green space, and where? There are no sidewalks on Ridge Road. How will you ensure residents are safe? There are no sewers on Ridge Road. When will we get sewers? If we allow this plot to turn into 4 lots, doesn't that open the Pandora's box to more intensification? On the ORM, I voted for you based on your commitment to protect our green space and to stick to our official plan. This is clearly not a part of the official plan. What was the outreach process? What was communication available in different languages? Not all the other new residents speak English. The communication was not even provided in French. The corner of Glen Steeple and Ridge Road is already dangerous for children waiting at the bus stop. I personally don't let my children wait there for the school bus due to the increased traffic and the speed of the cars. My dad comes from Richmond Hill instead. This last lot should have a home that matches homes on Ridge Road. Because it is the closest to Ridge Road, how will the design reflect the home across the opening or adjacent? In the past, when residents opposed the men's shelter, the Human Rights Commission accused Aurora of people zoning. I'm telling you, I'm not people zoning. I am not people zoning. As a resident and business owner, I want to protect the ORM and honor our commitment to truth and reconciliation. Reconciliation between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Canadians from an Aboriginal perspective also requires reconciliation with the natural world. If human beings resolve their problems between themselves but continue to destroy the natural world, then reconciliation remains incomplete. Reconciliation Commission of Canada, 2015. As a resident and business owner, I want my elected officials to stick to the official plan. Otherwise, it's not worth the paper it's written on. We need to protect the lands and its creatures that live within it. As a daycare owner and resident, if you allow this lot to turn into 4 lots, I will gain financially. The value of the property will go up, and I stand to gain at least 1 client from the 4 homes, most likely more. But I did not come to live on Ridge Road for the money. The children in our childcare learn from nature, and our curriculum is Reggio Emilia based. The children appreciate nature, and this has caused them to be respectful of the land. We left a very large home in Richmond Hill to be here. With all due respect, if you approve this application, it sends an invitation that states the ORM in Aurora is for sale. Are you selling the ORM in Aurora, or will you protect it? Your decision today will answer my question. By the town denying this application, my family will potentially lose millions. But we can't take those millions to our graves. But opposing this application will leave a legacy that I'm proud of. Thank you.
You see any other members of the public that would like to come speak? Welcome. If I can just get you to state your name, you have 5 minutes, sir.
My name is Richard Berman. I'm at 185 Ridge Road. So why am I here? We moved to Ridge Road 12 years ago, and 12 years ago, Ridge Road was a road like no other. People that came to visit would say it felt like you're entering Muskoka. It still has a bit of that, but it's kind of disappearing. And so I just want to go through a few things. The lands in question, I mean, there was some thing up there about retaining the natural features. Obviously, there's no natural features left. That whole area was forested. The first notification we had that there was going to be some development was on a weekend when those trees were all cut down. And I recognize a few faces here that have been here long enough that they heard that story. Of course, you call bylaw office, and bylaw offices don't work on the weekend. And guess what? What's done is done. Trees are gone. So I'm not going to go through the whole process of what we went through as a community, but you know, it was at that time called the Pandolfo lands. I attended many meetings with much larger number of residents at the time. And by the way, I thank you for noting that. I don't think it was really adequately advertised. I think there would be more people here. But that even included a private meeting with the mayor in his, upstairs in a private room where he was, genuine and trying to find, something that would make everybody be able to work with what was going to happen. And, many things were said. And, now I can't say for sure, what was guaranteed or not, but I sure heard a lot of things that we left in our heads, and they included that road was going to be a fire access road only. At where it joins Ridge Road, it was going to be a chain thing. That didn't happen. I heard there was going to be a forest buffer put in next to the Ridge Road, basically replanting trees. Well, that hasn't happened. I heard there were going to be no more trees cut on the property. There was still a forest buffer along Yonge Street. I don't think it was more than a month after I heard that all the trees on Yonge Street came down. And there's an empty lot there with a few saplings planted. So anyway, I heard there was going to be a light at Glen Steeple, and there was a whole discussion about where we could have intersections and stuff. And the whole plan was based on the idea that where Glen Steeple met Yonge was perfect because it was going to tee into the intersection across on the other side of Yonge. And now I see the intersection is not teeing, the intersection is further up the road. So, you know, I go back to why I'm here, you know, because I do question it. Like when I come to these meetings, we hear things and it just doesn't unfold like that. So, you know, is it just to experience all these metaphors like death by 1,000 cuts or slippery slope or pave over paradise? I mean, you know, anyway, ultimately, I mean, what's the choice here? The 4 buildings or an industrial storage lot? I mean, I'll take the 4 buildings if that's our choice. I mean, I would have preferred the forest and just follow the plan. But, you know, now it's an industrial site. You know, is there going to be an environmental assessment done? We all, well, not all, but a lot of us are on wells. I've seen all kinds of stuff stored on that site now. Who knows what's been leaking out of those containers? I've seen big liquid storage vats and all kinds barrels and all kinds of stuff. So I think it's been an abuse of that property. It's been abuse of what we understood was going to happen with that property. And so basically, you know, all I'm asking now is be clear about what's going to happen. And I think the main thing here is it's a precedent, right? Whether there's 4 homes there or not, you know, maybe isn't the biggest thing for me, but it's a precedent. It's just, there's going to be development on the south side then, and it's just going to ripple down Ridge Road. And I understand there's a housing crisis, but let's face it, homes of this size are not the solution to the housing crisis. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other members of the public? If I can just get you to state your name and you have 5 minutes.
My name's Tom McGinnis. Greeting everyone. I live on Ridge Road. I'm a resident, longtime part of all this process with the original application by Pandolfo that's turned into this development. This lot that's been proposed to be divided into 4 lots, few things to speak about it. It was originally left this size, which is actually not as big as it was originally discussed, but we sort of acquiesced to this size. So it had some conformity to the adjacent lots on Ridge Road at the time when the original plan was agreed to at the OMB and everybody was in agreement. The applicant built the 28 houses as they were supposed to. We were under, you know, a construction area for the last few years, and they left this lot. It's a deed, it's a single lot. It's not part of the greater subdivision. All the homes in there are deeded in lots. Any individual could bring forth an application to divide 1 lot. So the density on this 1 lot shouldn't be construed as 2.2 units per acre over the entire property, because it's not. It's 1 lot, it's 0.65 acres. They're going to put 4 lots on it. That makes each lot 0.165 acres, which means approximately 6 units, over 6 units per acre. So not 2.2 units per acre. So I just want to define and make everyone clear on, well, what are we really doing? Is it 2.2 units per acre? Is it 2 units per acre, which is the OPA, or is it 6 units per acre? That seems wrong, the calculation to any new subdivision. You can't build it and then take 1 lot and go, okay, let's divide this over 100 houses and it only means 0.01 per acre more. No, that lot is being divided 0.65 acres divided by 4. Now, this lot would be the only one bordering Ridge Road now if it were built the way the plans propose, where the side of the home is up against, this new home is up against Ridge Road, and all the other homes, the front of the lot is the front of the home. And in this documentation, which I read quickly today, it speaks to treat the side of the home as the front of the lot. Not sure how that works. The proposed changes that are made, and I think Shaheen spoke to, were there new studies? How do they meet the original studies, REOR, MCP? The last thing the chair at the OMB hearing said, and Dylan, the planner, said, I swear to God, he said, do you swear to God this plan, when built, will conform to the RMCP? And he said, I do, so help me God. right in this room. So I guess at this point, we see the entire lot has been scraped by York Region right now. I don't know if everyone's aware of it. I know the builder used the lot for some construction equipment, but the real devastation of this lot's happened the last few weeks when York Region moved in and started using it as their commercial construction site, which I think is another error and shouldn't have happened. I've seen diesel and liquids and large machines driving up and down. I stopped a giant loader on Ridge Road. I said, why are you driving up Ridge Road? This giant machine bombing up and around Ridge Road. He said, oh, I'm just fixing the machine. I'm just here from the repair place. And they told me to drive up and down here to test it. I said, you can't be driving this giant machine up and down Ridge Road. First of all, up until April 30th, we have a weight restriction on Ridge Road. These guys were running 25-ton trucks up and down Ridge Road. The place is a mess. The regional fella told me that the lot was going to be stopped, and it continues to be muddy, and they continue to use it even this week, even though he said it would end last week. And one last point, I know I'm time sensitive. I know there are many things, so I won't cover all of them. The sewage capacity in the existing adjacent neighborhood, which is a small pumping station that was put in by the Elder property on Championship, that was rated originally just for the proposed development. I'm not sure what extra capacity that can manage. I don't know the numbers, but I know I was in that many years ago, and it was a small made to size pumping station for that. A lot of information that I think would need to be submitted other than the density issue still, I think, is to be done. And I recognize that this is just an input meeting. So I'll leave it at that for now. I think a lot of the feelings towards the environment and everything were already spoken to tonight, and I echo that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Shane, I can see out of the corner of my eyes. I just get you to state your name, right?
Sure. Roy
5 minutes.
Cohen, longtime Aurora resident. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and esteemed council. I came in with friends tonight. I hope I leave with friends. I support the application. And the reason I support the application is because through the 40 years I've been an Aurora resident, I've seen all kinds of change. Fortunately or unfortunately, any way we look at things, progress needs to be maintained. Revenues for municipalities need to be maintained. And we have to keep up with what's going on in our region. I live on a beautiful multi-acre parcel on Yonge Street. And one day I woke up and construction started. Initially, it was supposed to be a school, then a park, ended up being 150,000 square foot, 5-story retirement home, zoned institutional. So the encroachment, the precedent has already been set. We are going to grow, and I'm hoping that the growth is going to be consistent with whatever neighborhood they're going into. This application isn't terrible. 2 units an acre was designed 20 to 25 years ago. 25 years later, municipalities need to mature, and they need to understand that as you grow and as you build out, it needs to be done properly, tastefully, respectfully. So to my neighbors, I hope you guys aren't mad at me or disappointed, but I've given this a lot of thought. I was up at 3 a.m, racking my brain, trying to figure out whether this is worth the battle. And to be honest with you, I don't see any issue. It's not going to infringe or encroach on anybody on Ridge Road. This is on Glen Steeple. It's a completely different road, and it's going to be built out to the corner. You're going to have more residents with vested interest in our community that are going to join us in a positive fashion. And it's going to enhance, in my opinion, the neighborhood. I'd rather see, to Rob's point, Richard, my apologies. To Richard's point, I'd rather see 4 homes than an institutional or some sort of municipal building there. Anyway, thank you for your time and have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Welcome. If I can just get you to state your name and you have 5 minutes.
So my name is Marina Muntian-Kiriak. I live in Aurora since 2020 at 140 Pine Hill. So I'm a pretty new community member here, but I'm a mom of 2 school-age kids, and I really enjoy walking. And I'm against this application for a couple of reasons. First of all, I consider that this community is already overpacked, is super intense, and we don't have infrastructure for that. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have a playground where kids can play. The green space disappears. There's more and more traffic on the streets, including on the Ridge Road, which me and my kids usually go to walk because that's the only street where we can walk because it's less dense. And if we build additional properties there, the traffic is going to increase, obviously. And I would say better to use that land to build a proper playground because there's no playground on this side of Young Street. If you look at the lots from Bloomington Street up north to Henderson, I think there's no playground which kids can play, and there are lots of kids there. Also, along the Young Street, there's no sidewalk at all for people to go outside of their communities, of their streets, and just take a walk to, I don't know, the closest shop where Canadian Tire Plaza was, for instance. Everything is packed with construction cars. There's no sidewalk which is built, and it's very dangerous. So instead of investing money in building new houses and increasing the population of the community and the surrounding areas, I would encourage municipality to consider first building infrastructure around for this amount of people that is planned, and then consider building new properties and allowing rezoning and changing of the density. That's what I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Serino, Sheen, you had a lot of questions. A few of them, I don't think it's appropriate for staff to answer them. I think it's more in general, kind of for council to answer. So I'm gonna try my best to get some answers to most of them. But I think through the discussion, we'll probably get some of those other answers. Okay, Mr. Reno, and this is, I guess, more for the applicant. Why was this not done during the original application? You might have the answer, Tom. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I don't. The original plan was approved back in 2014 by council with the 29 lots, and this lot in question was retained as one of the largest lots. Again, I think they did it at that time to conform to the 2 units per acre. They didn't need to submit an official plan amendment at that time. It was strictly a zoning bylaw amendment and a plan of subdivision.
Okay. And was a new traffic study done?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there's no new traffic study because, again, based on the original work and the slight increase of 3 units, that's something that our own traffic analysts can comment on.
Same, is that the same for all the rest of the studies?
No, they, through you, Mr. Mayor, again, they have submitted a number of studies. The key ones, a functional servicing report, vegetation plan, and a environmental impact study, as we've heard from the applicant's planner, that is being reviewed by the Conservation Authority. I will just add that the original review conducted as part of the original plan of subdivision, the roads and the lots, are obviously there now. The additional, this application will not add to any additional disturbance aside with respect to landform, aside from the actual construction of the additional homes. The environmental protection area was staked and identified and conveyed to the town as part of the original draft plan of subdivision.
So any comments from any agencies in regards to how close these would be to the water tower?
To you, Mr. Mayor, no, at this point, I'll speak to, refer to Rosanna. I don't think that we've received a final comment from the region. But again, just dating back to the original application, the region didn't have an issue with the original plan of subdivision. So again, we'll receive their comments in due course, but I don't believe they have a concern with respect to the original lot, nor the additional lotting proposed just west of the water tower.
And the communications was only sent out in one language?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's, our practice under the act. We notices in the in mail to surrounding property owners, ad in the paper on our website, and I believe there's a sign on the property as well, all in English.
I will add to that I know that we've been in some conversations about looking at making some enhancements to our website and also communications to add multiple different languages. So that's something we've talked about. That's all I got. Do you have any?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify as well that we've heard a lot about the OPA 34 and the Oak Ridges Moraine conservation plan. This lot, the original subdivision, and the majority of the town of Newmarket is within the Oak Ridges Moraine settlement area. This subdivision is within the Oak Ridges Moraine settlement area, which is identified for urban development, and it's subject to a slew of background studies. But settlement area of the Oak Ridges Moraine plan, urban development is permitted. And similarly, our secondary plan OPA 34 allows currently development in the form of institutional residential as single semis and townhomes, again subject to our density policies and lot coverage policies. Hence, that's why they're required to submit a official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application for the changes to the official plan policies with respect to that increase in density.
Okay. And I got one more question that came up, just strictly to the applicant, I guess, because I don't think Mr. Ramuno can answer this. So the last member of the public came up and spoke about infrastructure as far as a playground or anything. Any thought given to possibly 2 units and a playground added in instead of 4 units?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we haven't looked into that, but certainly we can take it back and review that and see what can be done if that's, or have continued discussions with the municipality.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from members of the public? Otherwise, Shane, come up for a second time. Just get you to state your name again, and you have 5 minutes.
Shaheen Maladina. So I'm glad to hear from the applicant that you're considering two houses and a playground, because as we all know, Aurora requires a fully accessible playground, because the last one that we had is broken and needs repair. So the L4G community needs more playgrounds. So that would satisfy me as a resident if we drop down to 2 as opposed to 4, and that it be on the corner there, and make sure that we have proper sidewalks for the children, new children coming in and the existing children in the area. So I appreciate that consideration.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Another comment? Okay, I'll close the public portion of this meeting. Council, I have a recommendation that report number PDS 23-063 be received, and two, that the comments presented at the statutory public planning meeting be addressed by Planning and Development Services in a report to a future general committee meeting. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councilor Gilliland, seconder. Councilor Gallo, thank you. Comments, questions to the applicant or to the report? Seeing, oh, Councilor Gallo. It's just about to call the vote.
Thank you. Do we have, I didn't notice anywhere in the report or in anybody's comments that the lot frontages of these four proposed lots, are they consistent with the rest of the community? I didn't see it. I didn't see a diagram kind of comparing the four lots with the others or any verbiage that says what size of those lots are. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to read, but we do have on figure 7, it's really just a conceptual plan. The southern 3 lots are similar in size with the rest of them from a lot frontage perspective. They are 60 meters. The one right at the corner is obviously a bigger frontage. However, from a lot area standpoint, they're not as deep as the balance of the lots in the subdivision.
Frontage is the same,
Frontage is the same.
but the depth is a little bit.
They're shallower.
Which one is that? Which who are you referring to? What page or?
Figure 7. It is faint print though. If you look at page 7, the top little chart identifies lot frontage 50, and they range from 18, 3 or 18, and the one on the corner is 26 meters. But that's the corner lot. But they are a little shallow. They're not as deep as the remaining lots.
Councilor?
But they're consistent with the lot frontage with the other lots.
Mr. Romano?
To you, Mr. Mayor, correct. The existing zoning permits a minimum frontage of 15 meters, which is 50 feet, and these are all 18 meters or more.
Councilor?
Okay, that's it for now.
Councilor Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was trying to figure out, the report speaks to 3 homes, but actually, are we talking about 4? There's intention to build the 4th as well.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's 29 lots originally in that plan. This lot number 29, the proposal is to create 4 lots. So it would add 3 additional lots if approved. It'd go from 29 lots to 33 lots.
Councilor?
This lot is currently vacant. It's the only one that hasn't been, doesn't have a home constructed on it. So they are proposing to add 3 additional lots.
Councilor?
So I couldn't do the math myself. I thank the resident whose name I can never pronounce correctly, so I'll just call him Tom, for doing the math. So when we're looking at 4 homes over the 0.65 acres, then the density actually is much higher. The report is talking about 3 homes, but if the intent is to do 4 on 1 lot.
It's 4, 3 additional.
3 additional, but we still have 4 homes on
Yes,
1 lot.
4, 3 additional.
So the density is, I mean, it's very dense. I think that from what I'm gathering around the table, that people are going to vote for this, but I would like to say that this land is on the Oak Ridges Moraine. And the reason why it was 2 units per acre is because this is a very important water recharge area. The soil is sandy and the water goes down into the aquifer. And at the end of the day, it is and it will be all about the water. So it started out with a secondary plan A lot of work was done on it. There was a lot of consultation. There was a lot of research by staff. That became the official plan amendment. We were taken to the OMB. We won at the OMB. It's very unusual to win at the OMB. The reason is because this is very precious land. And I talk about this all the time, and I don't think it's of great importance to many people. But this is the Oak Ridges Moraine, and it is protected under provincial statute, and that exists. And as far as I know, that will exist at least for a while and will not be relevant to any of the other provincial policies that have come forward recently. This is land that's worth protecting. And it is really death by 1,000 cuts. And it is precedent in this area. There's a lot of big lots on Ridge Road. This does not bode well for them. And it doesn't bode well for the Moraine. So I can't see how we could possibly entertain this. Talk about climate change and protecting nature, but it's mostly just words. So I'm finished for the moment.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. If I could address this question to the delegates. It's in reference to site-specific policy number 42, which states that none of the lots shall exceed 35%. In your presentation, one of the things that you are requesting is that some of those lots exceed that up to 50%. And so I'd just like to understand the rationale behind the request from your perspective, because I will say that if I look at those lots and do the math, you could meet that requirement of 35% lot coverage if you only divided that lot into 3 rather than 4. So from your perspective, what's the rationale for the request?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Thompson, the request is, we do have on that plan, we've shown an optional cantina in the back, and we have gone back to the owners and seen if we can remove that. That doesn't bring us to the 35%, but we have been in discussions with them of trying to bring that 50% down further. That would be closer to the 35%. We haven't done the calculation up for 3 lots because we've been working with 4. But as Mr. Ramuno did comment, the lots are more shallow than the other ones. So the homes that are currently already there, they would be similar to these 4 lots. And that's what they kind of just plotted. We plotted on those 4 lots.
Councillor.
Yep, thank you. That's the only question that I have for the delegate. Thanks.
Any comments to the report?
Or not?
Councillor Gillett.
Thank you. Similar questions I had Councillor Thompson about the Katinas. So thank you for that. I was going to ask the same question if that was something you were willing to consider to help reduce that lot coverage. I did do a site visit and took a look about the surrounding area and the character. And I do agree that what you guys are proposing does keep in within character. The only thing in question is that lot coverage size, just because of the fact that you are asking to exceed that 35%. As far as the back of the property, you're backing on a regional forest that with the intention of it being untouched. Is that correct? I don't know.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Yes, that's correct. We wouldn't be touching that forest. There is a fence line that kind of divides our property away from that. So there's no intention to touch that.
Councillor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would share the similar comments to Councillor Thompson in a sense that if there was room to reduce some of that lot coverage to help meet that. I also asked the question earlier offline about the 3 versus 4, but I also understand the size of the lot and how it would be in keeping with the rest of the properties to make it consistent. So it would be nice to see if there's at least some sort of attempt to make some sort of an adjustment, which would be great. Through you, Mr. Chair, you had mentioned that you had some sign off with the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. It was within your presentation, but I did not see it in the report. And I was hoping that you could clarify that a little bit.
Lucille.
Oh, sorry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. We subsequently submitted, we had a site walk with the LSRC in May 2022. We submitted a natural heritage report to them around March of this year. And we did receive an email to them, from them today that they don't have any objections, but will be ongoing discussions in terms of additional mitigation for that forest just on the south east corner of our property.
Counselor?
Thank you. And through this process, was there any concerns about the water of the aquifer below through your findings? That was mentioned earlier?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the counselor, the natural heritage probably touched on it, but I don't believe so, but we can certainly look back into that.
Counselor?
Great, thank you. Through Mr. Chair to Mr. Ramuno, there was some mention about precedents, and I was hoping that you could provide any kind of context around surrounding areas in respect to the density.
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think I've mentioned this before. I mean, OPA 34 was, as Council Gartner mentioned, that growth management study began back in the mid-90s and resulted in the council adoption of the secondary plan in 2000. It did go to the board. It was approved shortly thereafter. Since that time, there's been about 8 or 9 individual development applications that have been implemented. I've been here for all but 2, and the majority of them have maintained the 2 units an acre. There were a couple that exceeded those. The one east side of Yonge Street, the Ashland Holdings development, currently under construction, the Fernbrook, that went to just under 3 units an acre, 2.8, 2.9. And then the other one would have been the redevelopment of the Timber Lane Tennis Club on south side of Vandorf. And I believe that was over 50 units. I think that was close to 5 units an acre. Again, my comment to council is you're never, bound by, a precedent. But again, I understand that's always a concern, but just to keep in mind that the densities in the secondary plan were approved over 20 years ago, and there will be future pressure for any applications within this area. However, having said that, the majority of the lands that were designated under OK 34 have been built out. There are a handful of pockets of undeveloped property up and down Yonge Street, and the other majority of the development that has a current cluster residential designation are the lands east of Yonge, north of Old Bloomington. We've got one plan that was approved by council, the Ambria Homes, and there are a couple other applications, one that's in and another one that may come in further to the east.
Counselor?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, obviously we've got some precedents over and above what was discussed here earlier today. And I really do appreciate that. And I also noticed as well that it's being proposed, the regional corridor in that area as well. So density will be expected at some point in time as we move forward with the future growth. Is that not correct?
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So with respect to the regional corridor, we're in the middle, as most people know, middle of our official plan review and update to our 2010 official plan. And we've released I believe the second draft now. And this section of Yonge Street, we've identified it again at the draft level as a regional corridor, which would be appropriate, for those again, those lands that immediately straddle Yonge Street for gentle intensification with heights to a maximum of 5 stories. That's proposed in our current draft OP update.
Counselor?
Thank you. And finally, I just wanted to point out and confirm that within the existing and the proposed has not changed in respect to the landscaping, that it shall be a minimum of 40%. So that's not going to change in respect to the type of landscaping.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, again, this lot has been, the development has been serviced. So you've got one vacant lot, it's stripped, it's ready for, for home construction. I think what we need to look at moving forward, our review of the technical background work, specifically the environmental impact study, to ensure that there's no adverse impacts to the forested area on the regional tower property. And of course, as per the Oak Ridges Moraine, we've got a functional servicing plan that was submitted. We'll ensure that any additional lots that are proposed would not have any adverse impact with respect to the ecology of the area, as well as maintaining the surface and groundwater balance and recharge as identified in the Oak Ridges Marine Plan and OPA 34. So if council directs us to come back with a full technical report, we'll address all those questions and comments, and we'll have all those technical reports reviewed by staff, region, and the Conservation Authority.
Counselor?
That's all. Thank you.
You, Counselor Weiss?
Yeah, thank you. I do want to thank the delegates for coming forward with a balanced approach. I was looking at this relatively negatively to begin with, respecting what was said before about density as well as the moraine and of course the lot coverage, but I was really interested in the compromise that was brought forward by the applicant, or a discussion about the compromise. The importance of green space, playgrounds, places where people can gather are very important in all of these. And so I hope the applicant will take that very seriously should this go forward to general committee, because I think that's going to be important for the entire subdivision as well as the town. So I want to thank the delegates for that and for the applicant. No more.
Thank you. Counselor Gardner, second time.
Mr. Reno, can you speak to the pumping station on the Elder property?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So there is a sewage pumping station that was constructed. It's municipally owned by the town now on the championship circle property. And that sewage is obviously this development, the 29 lots will be serviced through that pumping station. Again, we haven't completed our full review, but I've spoken to our engineer, and there is capacity in that pumping station for these proposed 4 lots.
Counselor?
Thank you. And you may have answered this, I'm not sure, but with respect to the residents are on wells. So has there been any look into that to make sure that there will be no adverse effect on their wells?
Through Mr. Mayor, we'll certainly go back and look at the original work that was done with respect to any well monitoring now that the subdivision is serviced, but something that we'll definitely look into and report back on.
Counselor?
Thank you. And could you also communicate with the region? I mean, Ridge Road shouldn't be bearing the weight of these heavy trucks and the speeding. It's just not that kind of road that can take that. And also it has hills. So
Certainly look into that.
that could be a problem. When the residents came here originally, they were very concerned about the safety of that road, and we've heard a concern about children. Is there, again, I'm not sure if I missed it, but is there anything that the developer can do? Is there anything we can do to improve the safety?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with respect to Ridge Road, again, no. I mean, Ridge Road is, we know what the condition is. There are no sidewalks. There are, still, it's a rural cross section with ditches. But with respect to Glen Steeple, there are sidewalks. And I think in response to the comments that we heard at the community information meeting last month, the applicant has prepared a plan that shows a bit of a day-laying triangle with an additional sidewalk and sort of landing pad, perhaps for whether it's a school bus stop. So that's a comment that we've heard, and we'll take that back and see, and we'll work with our operations department to see what we can do there with respect to a design on that corner.
Counselor?
Thank you. Is it correct, and I believe it is, because I was in the chamber, that there was actually no intention to make that, it was supposed to be like a secondary road in case fire had to go into that subdivision? Off Ridge Road into the subdivision. I don't think it was supposed to be a main road.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just for clarification with respect to the Glen Steeple, the access from Glen Steeple to Ridge Road. So again, there was a bit of history there with respect to the official plan had identified the one connection for this particular, the old former Pandolfo lands to be accessed solely through Ridge Road. When that original application came in, there was a lot of discussion with respect to the access on the Ridge Road, the volume of traffic, and then again, where the signalized intersection would be, and that the Glen Steeple was approved. In the future, the Glen Steeple access onto Yonge Street will be the full signalized, full turn move access once the region installs the Viva busway. Ridge Road at Yonge Street, again, that was part of the original approval. There was discussions and a condition that would be eventually restricted to a right in, right out condition when that Viva laneway is constructed. So that is still a condition with respect to eventually Ridge Road at Yonge Street will be right in, right out only.
Counselor?
Thank you. Well, to me, this does not adhere to our official plan. It's quite different from what our official plan is trying to do for this area. It certainly doesn't maintain the intent of the Oak Ridges Moraine Plan, which is supposed to be protecting this land, which filters the water. And it's not only about the quantity of water, it's about the quality of water. And to me, this is clearly against my duty, our duty to protect the environment. So I'm completely opposed, and I'm really very sad to know that council is going to approve this going to GC.
Mr. Gallo, second.
Thank you. First off, just some clarity around the calculation of lot area, and there was a question about how we make that calculation. I wasn't sure if we got an answer. Do we just take that particular lot and divide that?
You mean by the per acre, the units per acre?
Yeah. Why are we selecting the entire previous subdivision and taking that into consideration? I'm just trying to understand how we go about doing that.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, just going back to the secondary plan, it's pretty specific with respect to the calculating density 2 units an acre based on constrained land. So it includes any environmental lands. So, and that's how we've been implementing each plan. The original Pandolfo subdivision was right on 2 units an acre. It was close to 15 acres in total. A lot of that were environmental lands. So again, I'll do respect. I don't buy the logic that moving forward now, because this one lot, we're going to look at a density calculation of 4 into the 1/2 acre lot. That doesn't hold water for me, quite frankly, because each lot would not be, each lot is, again, much, less than 1/4 of an acre. So it would be done on the original draft plan of subdivision. This is one lot within the original plan. It's a registered lot within the plan. So that's my advice, and that's my interpretation on moving forward, how we would calculate density. If you try and do it the other way around, again, I just don't see the logic in doing the math that way.
Counselor?
I see. So if there was one lot remaining amongst all the others, we wouldn't just take the size of that lot and apply that calculation. It's what we're saying is we're applying it through the entire
Subdivision.
previous approved subdivision. Okay. My second question is regarding the history. I know Mr. Muno said he wasn't so sure about why these weren't part of the original one. I believe I was on council. I know we spent a lot of time at Trails regarding this land, multiple months on it, but I don't remember why, maybe through you to the applicant, why originally, to me, logically, this should have been part of the original one, but I don't remember why it wasn't. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Seal.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gallo, our client purchased the draft plan approval, and so they weren't part of that original discussion either. So we don't have that history on why this wasn't part of it to begin with.
Counselor.
So through you, the applicant purchased this property afterwards?
After it
all-
was approved by
Yeah,
council.
after all the approvals.
So this was never part of the original subdivision?
Mr. Romero.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's correct. So the original, it was known as the Pandolfo property. And so that owner submitted the application, zoning amendment application, draft plan of subdivision to conform to the 2 units an acre. What was approved back in 2014 was this 29 lot subdivision. That original owner then sold it to the current owners, and they just then proceeded to register the subdivision agreement, service it, and build the homes, and they built 28 homes to date, and they left that one the subject land, the large corner lot, vacant, and they've decided now to come in to create 4 out of the 1, and hence, again, as I mentioned, the need for a official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications.
Counselor.
Okay, it's all coming back now. So it was all one property. Pandolfo's decided to the subdivision didn't include this, even though it was part of the land, and the approvals were for the rest of the property, not.
No, it included this parcel, like this property.
It was part,
But it
this
was-
part
but it
was
as
part of
one,
the all, was part of all the, was one of the lots, the 29th lot. They chose not to add more lots onto this, as is what's before us. The Pandolfos chose not to proceed in that way. And now it's coming to add those at this time. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Thompson, second time.
Thank you. 3 to Mr. Ramona. Mr. Ramona, just in terms of the process, we have X number, as it's an obligation of council to make a decision within X number of days upon receiving the application. Where does this stand in terms of that process? And if we're beyond that, could they take us to LPAT?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, well beyond that. I mean, these applications were submitted back in early, I think it was February 2022. So
How many days normally do we have to make a decision?
For zoning bylaw amendments, I believe it's still 90 days. So that has passed. But again, I think the owners are willing to continue to work with council and the community on moving this application forward.
Counselor.
Thank you. So my general comment is that, I'm in favor of going to the next step. I think council needs to make a decision whether they're supportive or not supportive of it. It still needs to go through the process and get to council so we can make a final decision on it. Personally, I'd like to see some of the issues addressed that have been raised here tonight, specific to lot coverage and some of the questions put forward by the residents as well. I'm also interested in having a greater discussion around some infrastructure questions, specifically playground. We've done a lot of small little developments down in this corner of Aurora. And in which cases, we've pretty much taken cash in lieu of parkland for all of them. And there is no parkland down in this corner. So I guess one last question through you to Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Ramuno, just to confirm, with regards to this development, even though we're talking about this one lot, with regards to the overall development, has the town already come to an agreement with the developers and took cash in lieu of parkland for the remaining spaces?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. As part of the original 29 lot plan, I was registered. We took cash in lieu for parkland. And just, I wanted to correct, I mean, the OLT tribunal timelines under the Planning Act are 120 days.
I'm glad you said
For
that. I was going to correct you.
for OPAs and zoning bylaws, not 90. They've changed so often in the past
Yeah.
that
I was going to correct you, Mr. Roman.
Thank you. So, I think there's another discussion, whether it be with this property or just in general with the lands down in the southern part of Aurora. There is a need for some playground. We are talking with the Parks and Rec Master Plan, and so maybe that's a discussion table for a future, but I'll be supportive of going to general committee because I believe we as a group need to make a decision on this application.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? No? Call a vote. Councilor Weiss? Councilor Weiss? Still not. Do it a second time? For some reason, it's not going through. No? Do you want to just tell me? Yes? Councilor Weiss is a yes. That carries. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Mr. Gilliland, second. Councilor Weiss, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Gallo, Councilor Gilliland, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. If you want to stay informed with the next steps, please grab one of those green sheets, please. Thank you, everyone.